Okay, guys, and we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Stoner podcast, and this is episode 50 of my side quest. Crazy to think we're now at episode 50. It's been a long way, had a lot of episodes, a lot of views. I mean, not a crazy amount of views, but a decent amount of views. We've been growing slowly but surely. When I'm recording this, we're currently at 60 subs. But you know, to the moon, bro. Lonely Stoner podcast to the moon. But this episode is going to be talking about some of the stuff we normally talk about. Going to be some UFC stuff. It's mainly around an article that I'm reading around Arman Tsarukyan and him talking about his potential next three options. Now, obviously, Arman Tsarukyan was in the world title picture with Islam. He pulled out due to a back injury, I believe it was, neck or back. I think it was a back injury. He pulled out the day before the fight, and forced the UFC to replace him on very short notice. And following that, Dana did say he's not going to get an immediate title shot. So obviously that's a shame for everyone involved. Provided an opportunity for Renato Moicano to step up and replace Arman, and the opportunity for him to win a world championship and make a ton of money. Obviously, he made a nice amount of money, but he didn't become world champion, unfortunately, on this occasion. But yeah, that's putting the lightweight division in somewhat of a weird spot. But reading what Arman Tsarukyan is saying is his next potential three options, I'm thinking this division's in a pretty good spot. So Arman was asked, and he, clearly he welcomed the fight against Justin Gaethje or Charles Oliveira. Of course, he's beaten Charles Oliveira already. It was a close fight. But Arman has beaten him already, so a rematch could be potentially on the cards there. He's never fought Justin Gaethje before, and to be fair, seeing Justin Gaethje come off that fight against Rafael Fiziev, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I think Justin Gaethje, if he can take, the shots he was taking from Rafael Fiziev, then he's probably still got a bit in the tank. And I know we've talked about it on the podcast, but also in general, a lot of people were worried about Gaethje's chin following that really bad knockout by Max Holloway, but he's come back and he's not comfortably, but as much as one possibly could comfortably take big shots from Rafael Fiziev for 3 rounds and, come out the better side of that fight and win that fight. I do fancy his chances a bit against Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan is obviously huge for the weight class, very, very strong, very, muscular. But no one's really been able to hold down Justin Gaethje apart from, Khabib. No one's really been able to hold down Justin Gaethje. And the people who have beaten him to sort of outstruck him and, done their damage that way. Arman Tsarukyan probably is the best wrestler in the division, I'm going to say. Not necessarily the best grappler, but the best in terms of pure wrestling. And MMA wrestling as well. I would say Arman's better than Islam as well. Islam's the Dagestani style of wrestling, which is a touch different to Arman's, which he's from Armenia, I believe. It is slightly different where the Dagestani wrestling, it's very cage heavy. It's very get you against the cage, hold you and drag you down. And then obviously there's nothing wrong with that. It's effective. These guys win fights. But in terms of middle of the cage, shooting at a double leg, they're not actually that good at it. And if you were to look at the numbers, you'd see though the numbers in terms of just shooting takedowns in open cage isn't amazing. It wasn't amazing for Khabib, and he's regarded as the best grappler out of all of the Dagestanis. And his open cage takedown rate wasn't anything impressive. So that's why I would say Arman is the best wrestler in the division. But can he hold down Justin Gaethje? We saw, for some reason, Rafael Fiziev took down Justin Gaethje in the first round, but even then, Justin Gaethje forced the scramble, and to be fair, Fiziev did get in a good position, but again, Justin Gaethje, somehow, he's able to just continually force these scrambles, and it makes him very hard, even if you can take him down, it makes him very hard to keep him down. And we've seen some decent strike from Arman. I don't think it's a major worry for him, but again, it would be if you were to fight Justin Gaethje. And even though Charles Oliveira, in terms of technique, probably is the more advanced striker and has got better fundamentals, but Justin Gaethje probably hits a lot harder and he hits a lot harder and throws more power shots as well. Of course, Arman's already beaten Charles Oliveira. That being said, rematches are very rarely the same as the first fight. So and Charles Oliveira is a great fighter. So he's always whenever you book Charles Oliveira in a fight, he's got a chance. You know, he might not always win, but he's got a serious chance of winning that fight, especially now. So I wouldn't be completely against a Arman v Charles Oliveira rematch. The only thing is, I would be annoyed if Charles then got another loss on his record and make his record look even worse. So ideally not, but if there's no other options, there's no other options. I think that fight against who I was just talking about, what was his name? Justin Gaethje would be, in my opinion, my number one choice. If I'm in a situation where Islam v Arman isn't the next fight we're doing, and it's not going to be, but then Justin Gaethje kind of deserves a title shot then. No, I mean, but you don't get a title shot beating ranked number 11, but he's ranked number 3, and you're not doing a fight against Islam and Oliveira again. Islam v Justin Gaethje is a great option, but again, we're talking about Arman. Arman also welcomed the fight against Charles Oliveira again, and then the third option, potentially the most interesting, he said Illia Topuria. Connor called him Illy Topuria, and that's why that's why I'm calling him that. But he told him to stand his base and called him Illy Topuria, and that is cold. It's cold. But Ilya Topuria is going to need a fight. I think it's been said by Dana White and UFC that when Ilya has done this now, he's gone up to 155. His first fight won't necessarily be a title fight. If he wants to fight a number one contender first, then you've got Arman Tsarukyan there. Literally the number one contender. You want to fight someone and beat them, you're in the next fights for the world title. Even though I would favour Ilya in that fight. Speaking honestly, I would favour Ilya in that fight. Even though Ilya's a lot smaller than him. He is a lot smaller than him. But I think Ilya's boxing is just... And his striking game in general is, much, much, much better than Arman's will ever be. Arman could out-wrestle Ilya. But Ilya's known originally as a wrestler. So that's not really... But again, you're an MMA fighter. You're looking at paths to victory. Arman's like, well... I don't want to strike with this guy, so I'm going to have to wrestle him. And so if that's your path to victory, then you're going to make that work. Or if you want to win, you're going to make that work. Right? But that would be a very interesting fight and would be a feature fight on the biggest pay-per-views and would headline any other non-pay-per-view card the UFC could put on. Right? So it would be a really interesting fight if that was to happen. Like I said, I don't really like his chances in that fight. The only fight I really like his chances in is Gaethje. Even then, not really. And Oliveira, just because he's beaten Oliveira before. And Oliveira, it was a close fight, but I think Arman did win that. But like I said, a very close fight. Yeah, I don't fancy Arman against Ilya much. I don't really fancy him against Justin Gaethje. Now that we know that Gaethje... We still don't know though. We still don't know. We want to assume it, but it's only been one fight. If he gets cracked by Arman in his next fight, then you're kind of like, damn, this guy's chin. Come on now, that's two potentially quite bad knockouts here. Then you start to think, but until Arman was to knock him out, then we're gonna kind of assume Justin Gaethje's chin's back, But I don't really fancy Arman in a fight against Justin Gaethje. I don't really favour him in a fight against Ilya either. So he's in a bit of a sticky situation there. Does he just wait it out? But Dana's already said his next fight's not going to be for a title fight. But I guess if you wait it out for long enough, your opportunity might arise. But the lightweight division is definitely an interesting situation where, like we said in the podcast that would have come out a few days, or no, but by the time this is coming, a few weeks ago. But we're saying Islam's near enough entering GOAT status at this point. The resume, the record, the guys he's beaten, how long he's been on top as well. Like, he's nearing GOAT status. So it's about finding who's going to beat that next fight for him. Who's it going to be? And if it's not going to be Arman, Maybe Arman has to fight another number one contender himself in Justin Gaethje, or like I said, Charles or Illia even. Very interesting situation. Been episode 50 of the Seth Side Quest, and I'm out. Peace.